And we estimate that by the time we're done with that, Nigeria should be able to export about at least about $450 million of kaolin annually.
Picture the substance that puts the sparkle in your toothpaste, the silky feel on magazine pages, and the glossy coat on your painkillers. It turns out Nigeria is sitting on a vast deposit of it, a reserve of over 2 billion tons. Yet, in a paradox that defines the nation's resource struggles, Nigeria spends millions of scarce dollars every year importing the very same processed rock it has in abundance. This white gold, a soft powder of decomposed granite called kaolin, represents a monumental opportunity. The question is whether it will become a national payday or another textbook case of the resource curse. The next moves are happening right now. First, meet kaolin. Formed over millions of years, it's a mineral so soft it feels like icing sugar. The whiter the sample, the higher the price. The global appetite is immense and growing, with Europe needing it for ceramics, Asia for fibreglass, and North America for pharmaceuticals. High-quality processed or calcined kaolin can sell for over $380 per ton, while even raw grades pull in significant cash. The gross value of Nigeria's deposits easily tops $10 billion. So why is this treasure still stuck in the mud? Drive just a few hours from Lagos to Iyero-Ekiti, and you'll find the answer in chalk-white scars carved into the bush. Here, artisanal miners chip away at the earth with hammers, loading the rock into rice sacks. This rudimentary method stands in stark contrast to the mineral's high-tech end uses. The value gap is staggering. A 40-kilogram sack of raw kaolin that sells for about $2 in a local village can be worth over $200 by the time it lands in a Guangdong ceramics plant, processed and packaged. Over 95% of the value evaporates somewhere between the mine and the port. Better machinery could triple output. But banks are hesitant to finance operations where land titles are a tangled mess, and mineral leases often overlap with farmland. The federal cadastre may list active leases, but local communities often report that agreements were secured through dubious means, sending investment risk skyrocketing and drying up formal credit. This operational chaos creates a fertile ground for corruption. Every year, government intervention funds meant for artisanal miners to buy equipment like jaw crushers and boreholes are earmarked, but they often vanish. Researchers estimate that a vast majority of mining grants dispersed in recent years never reached actual miners, instead disappearing into shell companies and inflated invoices. When genuine miners apply, they are often met with demands for facilitation fees. Pay up and you jump the queue. Refuse, and your application is lost to bureaucracy. International buyers exploit this dysfunction. The lack of transparency in tracking export volumes allows for under-invoicing, where high-grade kaolin is declared as low-value industrial clay to evade duties. This gap between reported exports and estimated actual volumes costs the nation millions of dollars a year in lost royalties, enough to build dozens of rural health clinics. The corruption extends to smuggling, with high-grade kaolin from northern states like Kebbi crossing porous borders, only to be relabeled and exported from neighboring countries, robbing Nigeria of the entire value chain. The human cost of this unregulated industry is devastating. Meet Grace, a mother of 4 living near Iyero. Her family farmed cassava until a kaolin crater was carved out near their plot. The first heavy rains washed a white sludge over their farm, rotting the cassava roots and yellowing the maize. Their harvest was halved, and her husband had to leave for Lagos to find work as a security guard. This story is repeated across the mineral belt. Open pits, often unfenced, become deadly traps for livestock and, tragically, for children. Local leaders have chronicled numerous deaths with zero compensation or investigation. a sign of a deep governance failure. Health is another casualty. The fine kaolin dust contains silica, which, when inhaled, over time, can lead to silicosis, an incurable lung disease. Clinics report rising cases of chronic coughs, but diagnosis is nearly impossible when the nearest X-ray machine is 100 kilometers away. Yet a turning point may be on the horizon. A recent MOU signed with Czech investors for a $70 million kaolin beneficiation plant in Ondo signals a shift in narrative. The plan to build a rotary kiln to produce high-grade kaolin for local and export markets means value could finally be added at home. While veterans are skeptical, citing generous tax holidays and the risk of profits being funneled offshore, the deal has put Nigeria on the map as a potential manufacturing hub, not just a quarry. This has attracted interest from Korean and Australian firms exploring more efficient processing technologies. Policy is also inching forward. The Solid Minerals Development Fund has deployed modern drilling rigs to produce reliable data that miners can take to banks. A pilot traceability scheme using QR-coded tags on sacks is showing early success, with declared export values rising significantly. Civil society groups are also increasing pressure, petitioning anti-corruption agencies to investigate missing funds and forcing a new level of scrutiny on officials. If this riles you up, hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because next week we'll show how gold, worth twice our foreign reserves, slips out of the country daily. You won't see it on cable news, but you'll see it here if you're part of the squad. To truly capitalize on this opportunity, a series of deliberate actions must follow. First, the data must be fixed. Publishing open-access geological surveys of every major deposit would slash the risk for investors and lower loan rates for miners. Second, licensing must be digitized end-to-end to eliminate the facilitation fees that breed corruption. Third, the government could establish a loan guarantee scheme for processors who add value locally, with the condition that they list on the stock exchange within a set period, forcing public disclosure. Fourth, royalties must be ring-fenced, with a significant portion flowing directly into community-run escrow accounts to fund local development and cut down on conflict. Finally, research and development must be funded. Local universities have already developed innovative products, like blending kaolin with plastic for low-cost roofing tiles. Pairing these labs with venture capital could spark a domestic manufacturing boom. The path forward presents a clear choice between three potential futures. In the first, reforms stall, and Nigeria remains a simple quarry, shipping raw clay while importing finished goods, deepening the cycle of dependency. In the second, a middle road scenario. Partial reforms lead to some domestic processing, saving the country a modest amount on imports, but failing to achieve its full potential. The third path is the high road, a transparent, efficient, and value-focused industry that catapults Nigeria into the top tier of global kaolin exporters. This path could generate over $1 billion in annual revenue, funding the schools, hospitals, and infrastructure that build a nation. Kaolin itself isn't oil. It doesn't require billion-dollar deep-sea rigs. The capital hurdles are relatively small, but the policy hurdles are immense. Ultimately, Nigeria's kaolin story is about choices. Ship raw clay or export finished gloss. Tolerate opacity or demand transparency. Enrich a few or empower a nation. We've seen how corruption and foreign exploitation have siphoned away wealth. But we've also seen the glimmers of a new way forward. The resource curse is not destiny. It is the outcome of decisions that can be unmade the moment citizens treat mineral wealth as a public trust. What's missing is sustained, informed, and loud public pressure. This pressure begins when you ask where the materials for your ceramic tiles come from, when you support watchdog NGOs that expose corruption, and when you ask political candidates for specifics, not just slogans. If we get this right, kaolin will do more than just brighten paper or soothe stomachs. It will fund a brighter future for Nigeria, 1 ton at a time. So share this video, drop your thoughts below, and if you want deeper dives into Africa's hidden resource plays, subscribe and hit that bell, because the next story could change how you see the ground beneath your feet.